Hello everyone, welcome back to Odds Now. We're here to preview the Premier League darts playoff action in London this weekend. 4 players in action on Thursday night at the O2 Arena. Luke Littler, Luke Humphries, Michael Van Gerwen and Michael Smith. As you can see, I'm joined on screen by Matt Hill. First of all, Matt, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well. Cheers, mate. Good to be here. Good to be back on the preview front and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must be excited for what's coming on Thursday. What are your thoughts heading into the night?
Yeah, well, it's a funny one, the Premier League. It's not my favourite competition, I must say. I've said this a few times previously. I just find it a little bit long-winded. You know, by week 16, I'm kind of bored of seeing the same 8 players just play each other. But you know, the finals night is always like a little bit of a standalone event in itself, really. And who wouldn't enjoy, 4 of the best players in the world playing over a long format in front of a packed crowd and a lot of money on the line as well. So if it's felt a little bit like going through the motions in the last few weeks, I think, this night will be, a completely different entity. It's going to be great entertainment, and it's a good one for the neutrals to tune into as well. Even if you haven't been watching the Premier League for the last few weeks, you can kind of just pick it up now with the semi-finals and the final and enjoy a great night of darts.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, we've got 2 semi-finals, I think, which are first to 10 legs and a first to 11-leg final. Luke versus Michael and Luke versus Michael again. What are your feelings on the 4 players heading into tonight?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, I was having a little bit of a look back on previous years and seeing whether we can sort of take any correlations from the league phase and how that translates into the semi-finals and the final, but it just doesn't really. You know, perfectly illustrated. The last 4 years, we've had the person in first, the person in second, the person in third, and the person in fourth win it one time each. So really, as much as we tend to read into this league phase or who's in form, who's been the best player, etc. It's pretty much proven that when it comes to the semi-finals, it's just who's best on the night, generally speaking. And I think, as much as the league phase is interesting and we could look at the head-to-heads of who beat who, how many times and whatever, I think it's more about who handles the pressure, who handles the occasion, who does the format favour, and all those kind of things. The things that make finals night and playoffs night unique. So, I mean, you can make a case for all 4 of these guys in different ways. Van Gerwen obviously is the don of the Premier League. He's won this a record 8 times. He often saves his best for the final night. We've seen some stunning performances from him, even in recent years in the semi-finals and the finals, when he maybe hasn't been his 100% best self in the last 4 or 5 years. He tends to bring his best for the Premier League final. Then you've got Luke Humphries, who I think it would be hard to argue against as the form man. He's just been unbelievable since winning that World Championship, really, in December, January time. And, you could argue in the last few weeks back to his very, very best. So that bodes very well for him. Of course, the name on everyone's lips all year, Luke Littler, is going to be the one that all the neutrals are cheering on. He's got as good a chance as any. We all know about his scoring and his ridiculous 3-figure finishing and stuff, so he tends to save his best for a big crowd. He's a bit of a showman, so he's got a chance. And then Michael Smith just sneaking in 4th spot under the radar last week. It was between him and Nathan Aspinall. He trailed Aspinall in that race for 4th all the way until the last week, and just timed his run to perfection, really. So he comes in here with a bit of a free shot, really. Nobody talking about Michael Smith. He's kind of got nothing to lose, but this is a man who's won the World Championship and he's been in many a finals night on the Premier League. So it'd be very unwise to discount him, I think.
Yeah, having said all of that, what are your predictions for the 2 semi-finals as we go into the night? You just spoke about the 4 players there.
Yeah, well, I think we start with Michael Smith and Luke Littler. Luke Littler, a short price favourite to win this one, and I've got to say I've got to back Michael Smith at the price, best price of 2-1 on Michael Smith to win this game. And it's nothing against Luke Littler per se, but just for all the reasons that I spoke about previously about finals night being a bit of a one-off, and there's different factors in play here. The magnitude of this game, for example, I mean, Luke Littler, marvellous on his run to the World Championship final, but he was riding the crest of a wave there. And I think it's also important to remember that until he played Rob Cross and fair enough, dismantled him in the semi-final, he hadn't really played a top 16 player. So he's still a little bit lacking in experience when it comes to major tournaments, back end of major tournaments, playing against one of the best in the world. Luke Humphries obviously got the better of him in a brilliant world final. Quite an early exit by Littler's standards at the UK Open, which is the only major we've had since. So this is the biggest game he's had, arguably since the World Championship final. I'm a little bit worried about him in previous weeks when I see some of the performances. I think there's maybe elements of burnout there. Maybe he's just, he's been playing every week, multiple times every week since Christmas. He's doing interviews left, right, and centre. He's, celebrity in demand now. His life has changed an awful lot. I do think that, the best players can raise their games for the big occasion, but I'm a little bit worried about him. I would quite like to see him take a little break after this Premier League campaign, maybe have 2 or 3 weeks off to himself, just chill on his Xbox and regroup a little bit, because I think, by anyone's standards, he's had a hectic schedule over the last couple of months. And, if he's going to be around at the top of darts for, 20 years, 30 years, he needs to manage himself and manage his schedule well. Over the 16 weeks, yes, Littler has been the more reliable of the two. He's been the better scorer of the two. But Michael Smith at his best is just, he doesn't really have many flaws in his game when he's in full flow. And I think the pace of this will really suit Michael Smith as well. Littler, fast and furious, doesn't muck about. And that is Michael Smith's preferred style. Sometimes when Michael Smith has to play against someone who unsettles him with a slower pace, he can get frustrated in himself. He can lose a little bit of interest. But this is going to be fast, furious, and I think Smith will absolutely relish it. He comes in as quite a big underdog. No one really fancies him or is talking about him. This is a guy that was world champion 15 months ago. And he's been to this finals night many, many times. This is Littler's first occasion at the O2. We know the amount of press he's going to have to do around the night, as I've touched on. So yeah, I just think at the price is 2-5 versus 2-1. I think that's too much in favour of Littler. I have to lean towards Michael Smith there. The other semi-final, you've got the Premier League veteran and the dominant Michael van Gerwen against the world champ Luke Humphries. Everything I've seen this year points towards Humphries for me in terms of a long format. Yes, MVG can, if he turns up as he so often does on this night and brings his best, he can win this. But he has to be, I would say, a minimum of 8 out of 10. He needs to be really near his best if he's going to make this work, because Humphries is just relentlessly consistent at the moment. Not really any chinks in his armoury. His 180 hitting is about the best. His finishing is very much the best. And he doesn't really have peaks and troughs in his game. I would say that all three of the others, Littler, Smith and Van Gerwen, they're very prone to having a couple of legs where they go off the boil and then they roll back with a 12 darter or 11 darter. Humphries is just kind of ticks along. He gets rid of most of his legs in 5 visits or less, and that is brutal for the opponent. You just feel like you're constantly battling to hold your own throw, never mind break him. And it won't overawe Van Gerwen. Obviously, he's the most experienced out of the quartet and he's won this so many times. But I just think sometimes you're up against somebody playing better than you and you're throwing everything at them and it's still not enough. And I think over that format, I think Humphries probably gets the better of him. So that's where I'm leaning on both of these games. But obviously, very much on the night for both of them.
So, like you said there, you're going for a Luke Humphries and Michael Smith final. I think a double on those two to win their semi-finals comes in at a best price of 7-2. Do you want to talk us through or have a go at predicting some scores?
Yeah, well, the score betting's probably, if you're just looking to have a small stakes interest in the night, that's probably the way to go, isn't it? You're getting some massive odds about that. And, yes, you're going to need some luck on your side, but it's good fun. I think Smith and Littler, Littler is a worthy favourite on what he's done, in terms of his numbers. So I don't see him being blown away. I just think experience could tell in this one later on. So I see it more around that 10-7, 10-8 mark for Smith, grinding it out. I'll go for 10-7 Smith. And then Humphries, Van Gerwen. Yeah, look, Van Gerwen, you shouldn't write him off on this night, but I just really, really like the way Luke Humphries is playing at the moment. So I'll go for a fairly wide margin Humphries win. I'll go for 10-5 Humphries.
Okay, I think 10-7, I'm just looking on my screen now, for Michael Smith to beat Luke Littler, 10-7, is 16-1 with William Hill. You've got Luke Humphries to beat Van Gerwen at 10-5 at a best price of 9-1 with Betway. The double for those two comes in at around 135 to 1. So it could be worth a little, dropping a pound on it to see if
got to be worth a quid, hasn't it?
Exactly. See if you've got luck on your side. Who would you have winning that final then if Michael Smith was to meet Luke Humphries?
Yeah, I won't be surprised the way I've talked here. I've got to go with Humphries. I just think the longer the format for him, the better at the moment. Like I say, these peaks and troughs that 99% of players have, he's not really having them that often. So it's difficult to see a situation where he goes off the boil for 3 or 4 legs. And then even if he does sort of fall a leg or two behind, his base level is easily good enough to pull it back. So, yeah, look, I think the 7-4 about on Luke Humphries winning this Premier League is really, really fair. I think, you're probably getting a little bit bigger than you should because of the Littler effect. And because, they never want to discount Van Gerwen completely. But look, if you want a bigger price, Michael Smith, I think he'd give you a run for his money and run for his odds. But I can't oppose Luke Humphries. I think he wins this Premier League, and I think he continues his era of dominance.
Okay, that wraps things up there. I think Matt's going for Luke Humphries. Let us know who you're going for in the comments. Don't forget to enjoy the darts and subscribe and like to Odds Now, this channel. We're going to be putting up betting previews across all the major sporting events over the coming weeks and months. Best of luck with your betting, and we'll see you soon.